building a total new structure somewhere else. The front entrance would have to be closed because of handicapped accessibility, and you can only have one entrance and exit with a library, mostly so your materials don't disappear. We thought that took away from a prime location by shutting that. There are no sidewalks on the side, so anybody that would park down on this end, we're pretty sure would walk in the street instead of walking across the street and using sidewalks on that side. It was the factor of shutting the library down. To do this process, the streets would have to be closed because of construction, which was very inconvenient for both churches. These were just all the different factors we looked at that were involved in gutting and remodeling this building. We got as far as working with TCI on going ahead. We were on starting phase 2 of a contract to do that in 2005, when we just stopped because this is not the building that we want for the public. We do not like the flow. It's creating a long, narrow building, and that was it. It was just creating a long, narrow building so you could say you have the square footage. It was not anything aesthetically that we thought would be the heart of the community, a treasure for the community. It did not portray itself well. And at that point, we started looking at other avenues. Structurally wise, the study said this building was sound, but there was going to have to be some major work along the, and you know me in directions, the south wall would have to be pulled out because there was some leakage at the time. That wall was questionable, and if anything was done inside, it would have to be dug the street part into the street part and that part of the wall fixed. Mechanical, this building has always had a horrible mechanical with the zones for heating and cooling. Electrical, total needing for upgrades. I think that was about it on that report, if I'm remembering to sum that one up. And that's when we decided we were looking for a new location to build new. And it was suggested, and I don't even remember by whom right now, to look into the Minnesota deed beautification. And we had looked at a site and went, that looks like a very good site to have the library. And it also was pretty much an eyesore with the overhead wiring that was there, the jail sitting in the middle of nowhere. Couple of buildings that had been, the Watson building had been for sale for almost 3 years. And then there was a building sitting in the middle that the city bought eventually before we completed the deed grant as part of, it was a business incubator building. And I don't, Kathy, I remember what that building used to be. It was like some cafe.
Years ago, it was the old Legion.
Okay, all right,
And then
all right.
the last known name was Dreamin' Horses.
Dreamin' Horses.
Okay, yeah. But, yeah, so there were people renting it out at the time of the flood. And the building was insured because it was a city building. We had applied for the deed grant, the beautification grant, received it. Flood happened. Some of the demo and buying of buildings proceeded soon after the flood. They were all under the deed grant. We were dealing with the last piece of property, which was the Litcher property, up until December. We had hired, by this time, another architect out of La Crosse. In between working with TCI and working with who we've got now, River Architects, the Minnesota passed a law that you could not have a architect from Wisconsin be architect, planner, and project manager. So we knew we were going to have now 2 different firms. And TCI said, why don't you let us know when you get to the construction management part, and maybe we'll just back out of the project for now. And we did, the board interviewed, I believe, 5 firms, came up with River Architects. Lots of little things going on in between, talking with the Lions. We at one time had thought we would be a community center, city hall, and library, because the Lions Club really wanted a 400-seat place to have a community center, a place where you could gather. And they were here one night. We all met in the other room, and we had a packed house. There were people from all over. Even the clinic people showed up, because at that time they were talking about possibly building more, adding on to the nursing home area up that direction. So they were interested in where we were going and what we were doing. Because we had approached even at one time the nursing home group to see if we could build up on top of that hill. It would be easy connection for nursing home residents to meander into the library all under maybe just a little awning. So that was another space that we'd looked at. But then at that time the clinic would said they were thinking of maybe moving. So we had a big group of people. It's all on a timeline. It's all on the web page for the things we've gone through. Applied for USDA to get assistance. At the time they were talking that when we applied, the grant portion of it could be as high as $900,000. When we received it, it was $250, low interest, 40-year payback? 40-year payback, okay. And Chris, that was about the time you came on, so that was 2010.
That was applied for in March 2010, when I became mayor, and
Yep.
the new council was seated.
Yep. And we were successful with that. And that was, the plans were written for a combined city hall, still library. Made the most sense, money-wise, to operate one facility instead of 2. We had 2 separate votes in maybe 08 and 09 that yes, city council wanted to be part of the project. Then in 2010 there was a vote no, take us out of the project.
For the record, that was the new council.
Then, well, everybody else probably should know it up to that point. We're still when FEMA came through and said that the funds for the Tenberg Center could no longer be applied to the community center because they didn't approve an archaeological dig first, then we applied last August to use that money instead for the library building project. And we've been waiting to hear from FEMA ever since, even though they said the final papers have been in Chicago since August.